Oh boy, Oprah Winfrey and the Democrats are trying to recreate that 2008 magic, and personally, I don't think it's working, and quite frankly, the polls prove that it's not working. And I'll get to the polls much later in the video. They show that Kamala Harris's campaign is floundering. In case you didn't understand what Oprah Winfrey was screaming, she was screaming the word joy, and that has been the theme of this week's DNC, which is really ironic and weird because it's the Democratic Party's national convention. Shouldn't they be talking about their policy proposals, their policy ideas? Shouldn't they be talking about the experiences of their candidates and their successes? They're not doing any of that, perhaps maybe because they can't. Instead, they've been focused on the word joy. It's because they're trying to recreate this 2008 Obama magic of hope and change. Now, the reason I think this is falling flat is because why do they keep having to tell us they're joyful? It's almost like they're overcompensating for something. Think about your friend who just recently broke up with their partner. If they keep saying, I'm over my ex, I'm over my ex, are you really over your ex? If you were truly over your ex, you would just not talk about them instead of saying, I'm over my ex over and over again. Or that person that says, I'm fine, I don't care, and they keep saying something like that, we all know those people who keep overcompensating for something. They keep saying they're fine or they're over it, and yet by repeatedly saying it, they are betraying or belying how they actually feel. And that's what I feel about Democrats and their message of joy. Now, Oprah being their messenger of joy and trying to relate to the masses really falls flat. Take a look at this example.
From the redwood forest, love those redwoods, to the Gulf Stream waters, I've seen racism and sexism and income inequality and division. I've not only seen it, at times I've been on the receiving end of it.
Oprah, your net worth is $2.7 billion. Not only do you have an Oscar, you had a historic television daytime show, which had a historic run through multiple decades. You have your own magazine. You have your own TV network. I mean, don't get me wrong. Everyone has been on the receiving end of bigotry, hatred, racism, sexism. I get that. Those things are real. But that doesn't define America. That doesn't define our society. What we should be celebrating is the fact that people like Oprah can still climb that ladder and achieve the American dream. And that's the difference here, is that Democrats are trying to divide people, and they're trying to act as if the American dream, that ladder to success and prosperity, and yes, I get there are multiple definitions of success, but they're trying to pretend that that doesn't exist anymore. And in fact, it's the Democrats' policies who make it harder for normal people to achieve that level of success. So for Oprah Winfrey to be talking about her trials and tribulations in life and how America is bad because of all of that and Republicans are bad because of all of that, I think it just falls on deaf ears because she's been able to reach the pinnacle of success. She should be inspiring younger generations to say, hey, I achieved the American dream and you can too. But instead, what the Democrats are doing they are using her as a pawn to sow hatred and division when, of course, they're pretending as if they're the party of joy. Now, Oprah Winfrey actually attacked J.D. Vance without mentioning him by referring to the childless cat lady comment.
We are not so different from our neighbors. When a house is on fire, we don't ask about the homeowner's race or religion. We don't wonder who their partner is or how they voted. No. We just try to do the best we can to save them. And if the place happens to belong to a childless cat lady, well, we try to get that cat out too.
I just think this really falls on deaf ears. It's really hypocritical and ironic for the Democrat Party to be talking about this because they're the ones who keep trying to divide us based on identity. They're the ones who keep pushing identity politics. One of the best examples of this is college admissions, right? We had affirmative action, which I know the Supreme Court has made some rulings on, but as an Asian man, I definitely can talk about it and was affected by it. We, as Asians, had to overperform other counterparts, our colleagues, to be admitted at the same rates, to get scholarships at the same rates. You can do the research. Asians had to score like 10 to 15% higher on the ACT, on the SAT to achieve the same entrance rates. In other words, they were lowering standards for other demographics while pushing them up for Asians. So it's really ironic that she's talking about it doesn't matter what race, what gender, what sexuality you are, when their party is the one pushing for these policies that give certain demographics preferential treatment. And that is a fact. Now, MSNBC did something really funny when Oprah was talking there. They threw some shade at one of their audience members when Oprah mentioned the childless cat lady, and I laughed. I thought it was funny. I just wanted to share it.
To a childless cat lady?
I love how the cameraman, the editor, cuts to that woman in the audience and she's like, who, me? Who, me? Now, to be very clear, I am not making fun of childless cat ladies. I am a childless cat man. No one is making fun of you for having a cat. No one is making fun of you for not having children. It was an off-the-cuff comment by J.D. Vance. He was trying to make a point, and obviously the Democrats are trying to take it out of context. It's not controversial. They're so focused on it because the Democrats have nothing to run on. They have nothing to stand on. Now, this moment at the DNC wasn't the first time that animals were actually talked about at the Democratic National Convention. Ana Navarro, who is on ABC's The View, tried to use dogs as a reason to vote for Kamala Harris. You have to see it to believe it.
Kamala Harris, she likes dogs. And my dog, Cha-Cha, likes her. Dogs are good judges of character. So are cats. We cannot elect a president who does not like dogs or hangs around with people who shoot them.
I think she's making a reference there to Kristi Noem, and by the way, Kristi Noem is not anywhere close to Trump. She was reportedly being considered for vice president. Then once that news story came out, she was blacklisted and dropped from that list. It's not like Trump is hanging around her. Second of all, Trump loves dogs. There are so many pictures on the internet of Trump smiling around dogs, holding multiple dogs, and the dogs being happy around him. So that's just stupidity. Again, the Democrats really talking down to normal Americans, saying, that's just not a political argument. Oh, you should vote for this person because she likes dogs? I mean, what is this? We're voting for class president of the first grade? It's just really insulting, I think, to Americans for Democrats to talk this way and for them to broadcast this to the public. Now, Oprah Winfrey tried to also tie in her speech, again, which was focused on joy, 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 but she also talked about fertility and abortion. Here's what that looked like.
If you do not have autonomy over this, if you cannot control when and how you choose to bring your children into this world and how they are raised and supported, there is no American dream.
You're right, Oprah. There is no American dream for the millions of babies, I think over 60 million now, who were aborted in the womb. They didn't have a chance for the American dream. They didn't have autonomy over their bodies. You chose to murder them over the guise of women's reproductive rights. Well, no one is saying whether or not women and men can't get together to have children. No one is banning IVF or any of these methods to have children. What they're just saying is that, hey, we shouldn't allow murder. And here's the thing. I've had a few comments on my channel recently, and I do read all of them. It's getting harder to respond as the channel grows, but I do read them. And a lot of people think that I'm only pro-life because I'm a Christian. But the thing is that there are many atheists who are pro-life. There are many Democrats who are pro-life. The issue of murder and when life begins is not a religious issue. That is a moral issue that can go far beyond religion. The fact that there are atheist pro-lifers proves this. So I think her argument about the body and reproductive rights just totally not true, and it discounts the millions of people who have lost their lives due to abortion. Now, I opened the video with Oprah screaming joy. Here is the full clip of that.
Let us choose honor and let us choose joy. Because that's the best of America.
Here's my question for Oprah Winfrey. Does she think really that Donald Trump isn't joyful? Because she was really good friends with him for years. This is an picture of Oprah with Donald Trump when they were younger. And beyond that, she actually penned a personal letter. Take a look at this with the Oprah letterhead stamp. This was, I believe, written January 11, 2000. Donald, I reviewed the book excerpt. I have to tell you, your comments make me a little weepy, so they made her emotional. So apparently Trump does have emotions and can inspire emotion in other people. It's one thing to try and live a life of integrity, still another to have people like yourself notice. Thank you, Oprah. And then at the very bottom, too bad we're not running for office together. What a team. Wow. So Oprah once considered running for office, or once daydreamed of running for office with Donald Trump. Whatever happened to that friendship? I mean, here's the thing. Donald Trump has been saying the same things. You can go back. He's been talking about trade. He's been talking about deficits. He's been talking about American respect on the world stage for decades. Many of these comments that he's been talking about as a politician, he's been saying since the 90s when he was still in the private sector. It's not as though he changed all of a sudden. It's his friends who changed because the establishment decided that Donald Trump wasn't one of them, because Donald Trump was trying to break up the establishment, was trying to truly be an outsider to bring actual change to Washington, D.C. Now, when Oprah was closing her speech, she started talking about decency and integrity, which is really ironic because, again, last night was all about Tim Walz, who, of course, is Kamala Harris's running mate for vice president, and he does not have decency. He does not have respect. So, again, I think this intro was just really lame.
You know this is true. You know I'm telling you the truth, that values and character matter most of all. In leadership and in life. And more than anything, you know this is true, that decency and respect are on the ballot in 2024.
Was it decent when Tim Walz was arrested for a DUI? He was going 96 miles per hour in a 55 mile per hour zone. He could have killed someone. Really? I mean, he could have ruined a life, multiple lives. That's not a joking matter. And then he lied about it? Like he lies about everything else? He abandoned his troops right before they went to the Middle East? He lied about serving in combat. He lied about carrying weapons in war on the battlefield. The guy's a serial liar. He lied about being a football coach. He's not a coach. He's an assistant coach. Big difference. He has his entire career, his entire life as a public servant has been built on all these little white lies, as if it doesn't matter. But the point is that he is not a barometer of decency. He is not a barometer of character, and that's who she was introducing. Now, Oprah Winfrey ended her speech by screaming for Kamala Harris. She tried to resurrect the magic of her daytime talk show host, when she would be screaming at the audience, you get a car, you get a car, you get a car. But as you can see, Oprah has lost her magic.
Because that's the best of America. But more than anything else, let us choose freedom. Why? Because that's the best of America. We're all Americans, and together, let's all choose Kamala Harris. Thank you, Chicago.
I just love how Oprah like pointed her arms out. Why? Like trying to incite the crowd to shout back at her, and they obviously missed their cue, and she was like, oh, I gotta save you guys. I just thought it was funny. Now, when Tim Walz finally came and gave his speech, this is what I can't stand about the Democrat Party. When you listen to it, it sounds good on the surface. It's kind of like fast food. It fills this need, sort of like fast food fills the hunger need, but the more you sit with it, you're like, man, this really isn't good for you. There's not really much substance here. This probably isn't the healthiest thing. I think the DNC is like that. They make you feel good, but once you look past the surface, it falls apart like a house of cards. And that's what scares me about them, because a lot of people don't pay attention to politics. Look, if you're watching my channel, if you're still watching this video, you clearly care about politics. You clearly want to be informed. You're interested in other ideas. I mean, I'm an independent YouTuber. The fact that you're watching me really tells me that you're just hungry for information, and you're getting it from a wide variety of sources. But not everyone's like you. There are people who never pay attention to politics, don't seek out different news sources, and once every 4 years they turn on the TV and they're like, oh, here's the convention. They don't get to see. They don't get to understand that these people are lying. And because Democrats have spent the last 8 years talking about how much Donald Trump is a liar and how evil Donald Trump is, I think a lot of people have forgotten the fact that Donald Trump is not a politician. That's why so many people like him, because he actually tells the truth. And that these Democrats, they are the normal politicians. They're the ones who just are oil salesman, like disgusting figures that you just don't trust. So here's the perfect example of Tim Walz trying to relate to the average American and trying to stand against the elites. Now, I want you to pay attention to how he bashes J.D. Vance, and we'll recap afterwards.
I had 24 kids in my high school class, and none of them went to Yale.
That is not a brag. So he was bashing J.D. Vance there because J.D. went to Yale. First of all, that is not something to bash. Again, that is part of the American dream. Why? Because J.D. Vance was raised in a broken household. His mother was emotionally abusive. She was addicted to drugs. J.D. was born in the country where there were very few resources. And yet, despite all of that, he was able to achieve that high level of educational success. That is the American dream. That should be celebrated. We should be encouraging our children that you can reach success from anywhere. Anyone, anywhere in America can attend any school, can become anything, and yes, that includes president and vice president of the United States. And yet, Tim Walz is trying to poo-poo that as if it's a bad thing. He's trying to play against the elitists. Also, doesn't that showcase what a horrible teacher he actually was? Because he was a teacher. Oh, none of my high school class went to Yale? I mean, as a teacher, shouldn't you want the best for your students? Shouldn't you want some of them to go beyond your state, go beyond a state school? Not that there's anything wrong with state schools, but I'm telling you, if I was a teacher, I mean, I am a piano teacher. That's one of the things I do to help pay my bills. If one of my students got the opportunity to perform at Carnegie Hall, I would not be poo-pooing that. I would be celebrating that. Why is he using that as some sort of attack line, as if it scores him brownie points? It's just disgusting. Next, he started talking about how privacy is so important. And of course, he's referring to abortion.
Because in Minnesota, we respect our neighbors and the personal choices they make. And even if we wouldn't make those same choices for ourselves, we've got a golden rule. Mind your own damn business.
Again, if you don't pay attention to politics, you might watch that and you might be like, yeah, I agree with that. You agree with it because it sounds good in theory, but in reality, Walz created a snitch line for his neighbors. or for his residents when he was governor of Minnesota. During COVID, if he locked down his state and if people weren't obeying his draconian, authoritarian lockdown orders, he created a snitch line so you could call and tattle on your neighbors, get them in trouble. People lost their businesses because of this. People went to jail. People got fined because they went outside. Like, another example, during the George Floyd riots of 2020, people were on their porches, and as he let the city burn, under the authority of Tim Walz, the National Guard and local police came through and started shooting at people with paintballs on their porch, telling them to get inside. They weren't contributing to the violence. So meanwhile, let me make this clear. Meanwhile, you have people literally burning the city to the ground. They are killing people. They are destroying buildings. They are burning buildings down. They are looting. And then you have peaceful homeowners who are just sitting on their porch, trying to figure out what's happening, trying to enjoy the fresh air. And instead of arresting the rioters, the police and National Guard under Tim Walz shot paintballs at the people on their porches. So his claim that he cares about privacy and cares about people's ability to make decisions on their own and live their lives as they see fit. He didn't do that when he was governor. He encouraged people to snitch on their neighbors so he could lock them up and find them. And then he had his police and National Guard shoot people with paintballs for just being on their porch, being on their own property. This guy is not only a hypocrite, but that is evil. That is someone I don't want to be a heartbeat away from the presidency. Here is another lie that Tim Walz told.
I know guns. I'm a veteran. I'm a hunter. And I was a better shot than most Republicans in Congress, and I got the trophies to prove it.
So there, Tim Walz was calling for basically reforms to make guns more difficult to get, which, you know, the Second Amendment says shall not be infringed, talking about our gun rights. Also, he's lying there because he did not carry weapons of war into war. Again, he was sent to Italy. Now, I think the best person to speak about this is a person who was actually a victim of gun violence, Donald Trump. Again, the media is trying to cover up the assassination attempt, trying to memory hold that he almost died from a bullet. And even with that experience, Donald Trump understands why the Second Amendment is important. Not only is it important for self-defense, it's important to keep the government in check, to prevent overreach from the government, to prevent tyranny, to prevent tyrants and dictators from ever taking over. Tim Walz doesn't want to talk about that. Now, Tim also is saying that he was going to spend his speech telling us what Kamala Harris is going to do. And again, that was another lie.
But I think we owe it to the American people to tell them exactly what she'd do as president.
Well, if that's true, Tim, why is there no proposal, no policy, no idea, no agenda listed on her website? You go to their website today, their official campaign website, there's nothing there. Why isn't she sitting down and giving an interview with the press? Why isn't she doing a press conference? Why isn't she hosting daily press briefings? She's not doing anything. She's not telling us anything about what she wants to do. All we're getting is this vague joy language. Joy, joy, joy. That's it. Again, it goes back to that fast food. It makes you feel good at first, and you're like, oh, we're getting some nourishment. But the more you sit with it, you're like, there's nothing of substance here. It's just cheap crap that we can just throw away. We get nothing from it. And too much of it's actually going to make us sick and be bad for us. It's just disgusting. Also, what I thought was really interesting, Kamala Harris did not show up at all to the DNC that night. So she showed up for a surprise appearance on day one when Joe Biden passed the torch to her. She did not show up at all on day two when Barack and Michelle Obama spoke, which I think was a snub because we know there's bad blood there. And then she didn't show up yesterday when Tim Walz, her running mate, gave his keynote address. Really strange. Why is she hiding from the DNC? This was confirmed by CNN.
But as you know, the vice president was not in the arena tonight to watch her running mate, Tim Walz, give his big speech. She was watching from her hotel room here in downtown Chicago.
At least it wasn't like the day before, when her husband spoke. For those of you who missed it, she was in Air Force Two, and Air Force Two took apparently 15 minutes to land. 15, so she could watch her husband's speech. Because, YouTube and DVRing and recording apparently don't exist. She wants to lecture us about going green. She wants to lecture us about getting rid of gas stoves because it's bad for the environment. Meanwhile, her jet is going around, her massive jumbo plane is going around, spewing tons of pollution into the air, wasting who knows how much taxpayer money. Now, the DNC, a lot of people were expecting that there would be a poll bump, but apparently the numbers look really bad. So this is Reuters. Harris Super PAC, a political action committee founder, says public polls are too optimistic. And PACs, they're the ones who raise all this money, and they're really the activist arms of the parties. So you really want to pay attention to what they're saying. Now, it disappeared. The founder of the main outside spending group backing Kamala Harris's presidential bid says their own opinion polling is less rosy than public polling suggests, and warned that Democrats face much closer races in key states. More specifically, he said, our numbers are much less rosy than what you're seeing in public. Now, none of those polls leaked. Whenever the polls from the Democrats do leak, I share them. But we have this analysis from the Trump campaign, and I ran it against my own analysis, and I was happy to see that the numbers were fairly close. Now, this was the highest resolution image I could find. It'll get blurry when I zoomed in. So we have 3 charts here. In the middle line, we want to read this 2 ways, from top to bottom and then from left to right. So at the very top is what the current polls, and this specifically was a New York Times poll. It's showing in Arizona, Trump is below Harris by 4 points. In Georgia, Trump is ahead by 7. In Nevada, Trump is ahead by 2. Now, one of the things we want to pay attention to is what they call the recall vote. And so what the recall vote is the pollsters ask, who did you vote for in the last election? So they're recalling who they voted for. And they use this to help figure out the sample size. Now, if you look at the very left-hand side, where it says recall 2020 ballot among voters, you will see that in, let's do Arizona. You will see that 51% of voters recalled or claimed that they voted for Joe Biden, compared to 44% of people in their polling sample voting for Donald Trump. But that is not what the actual result was. If you go from that far left box to the middle box, like in the middle of the plus sign, you'll see that in the actual reported 2020 ballot results in Arizona, it was Joe Biden at 49%, President Trump at 49%. It was essentially a tie. So in other words, they oversampled Joe Biden supporters, or they falsely recalled their support for Joe Biden by 7 percentage points. And this happened in state after state. So the difference in Arizona was they underestimated or undersampled Trump's support by 7%. In Georgia, it was even, it was accurate. And then in Nevada, they undersampled it as well. So if we go to the very bottom here, and if you adjust the sample of the polling based on the correct recall votes to the actual results, it would show that Trump is actually ahead in Arizona by 3, Trump is ahead in Georgia by 7, and Trump is ahead in Nevada by 9. I know I did a sloppy job of explaining that, but that's just because I am ad-libbing this before I'm going into work, but hopefully that makes sense. So in other words, if you look at the very top graph right in the center, the official polls are showing Trump behind in Arizona by 4, but if you weight it properly, Trump is ahead by 3. In Georgia, it's showing Trump ahead by 7, and Trump is ahead by 7 because that was accurately weighted. And Nevada, Trump was ahead by 2, but he should be ahead by 9. This, again, is just an analysis of the New York Times polling, and as more polls come out, especially after the DNC, and I'm sure that more internal polls from Kamala's campaign and from the super PACs are going to be released, we can analyze those numbers as well. But as always, this is just my opinion, just my analysis, and I would love to know your thoughts in the comments below. What did you think about Oprah Winfrey's speech? Do you think it'll actually have an effect on everyday Americans who don't tune into politics on a daily basis? Do you think she still has sway, the same power and influence that she did in the 90s and 2000s? Or do you think that it's a different landscape now? Do you think that the convention is really just for the party faithful and won't have that big of an impact? Let me know either way what you think down in the comments below. If you haven't already, please be sure to give me a thumbs up. I know it's a simple thing to ask for, but it really does help me in the algorithm to reach more viewers like you. Be sure to smash that subscribe button and to check out one of these videos.